Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Samina Banu, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The module name is Introduction to Youth Psychology. Introduction. Youth psychology, as it is often called, is a discipline of psychology that focuses on the mental, emotional and behavioral needs of children and adolescents. Youth psychology is a field that specifically addresses the development, well-being and functioning of youth or emerging adulthood. The learning outcomes which can be, after studying this module, you shall be able to understand that youth is a period distinct from childhood, adulthood or adolescence. It is a transition phase that is characterized by period of exploration, change and diversity. According to UN adapted the age group 15 to 24 for defining youth. National Youth Policy launched in February 2014 defined youth as person in the age group of 15 to 29 years. Youth being enthusiastic, vibrant, innovative and dynamic as nature is the most important section of the population. Erik Erikson was one of the earliest and primary researchers to work on the theories of development of youth and identity. Daniel Levinson was another contributor in the field of youth psychology, who termed these years as novice phase of life. Kenneth Keniston described period of youth as a time of tension between self and society. India has the highest population of people between 10 to 25 years old and is considered the youngest nation in the world. Education, unemployment, civic engagement and migration are few of the major concerns faced by the youth of India. Many policies are initiated by the government for the welfare of the youth. The definitional aspect is youth as a biographical life stage is located between adolescence and adulthood. It is conceptualized as beginning with the end of secondary education, usually age 18 in America as well as Indian society, and ending in mid to late 20s for most people, as the experimentation of the period is succeeded by more enduring life choices. It is said by Arnett 1998. It is distinct demographically and subjectively from adolescence roughly from age 10 to 17 and adulthood beginning roughly since 30. A psychology professor, Arnett, proposed the term emerging adulthood for young people who have attained the status of adulthood by reaching the 18 years mark, where they are legally eligible to vote, yet many decisions and responsibilities of an adult is yet to be attained. Youth is an all-encompassing term for adolescence and or emerging adulthood. It is a developmental phase between childhood and adulthood. Youth or emerging adulthood is neither adolescence nor adulthood, but is theoretically and empirically distinct from them both. Emerging adulthood is characterized by relative independence from social roles and from normative expectations. Since the emerging adults have outgrown the dependency of childhood and adolescence and have not yet taken over the responsibilities of adulthood, they often explore a variety of possible life directions in love, work and worldviews. Age constitute the determining characteristics in the definition of youth by various agencies. UN adopted the age group 15 to 24 for defining youth. National Youth Policy launched in February 2014 defined youth as persons in the age group of 15 to 29 years. Demographically speaking, it is a phase characterized by exceptionally high level of change and diversity. For example, 20s are the years of frequent change and transition in occupation, educational status and personal relationship. The majority of adolescents do not believe that they have reached adulthood, and majority of people over 30 and older believe they have, but most people in their 20s see themselves as somewhere in between adolescence and adulthood. The majority answer in some respect yes and in some respect no when asked whether they feel they have reached adulthood. For most people, the late teens through the mid-20s are the most pivotal years of life. They are young, deal with developmental milestones such as coping with pubertal changes in the body, the resulting strong sexual drive, and have a hormones play and mood of the adolescence, choosing a vocation that is the preferred and idealistic at one hand and consistent with one's capability on the other. Finding a purpose in life by choosing from variety of ideologies, beliefs and values, and developing a personal style of love and care amenable to a particular mode of intimacy and parenthood. It is a time of life when many different directions remain possible, when there is still a lot to explore about the future, when the scope of independent exploration of life possibilities is greater for more people than it will be at any other period of their life, when great decisions affecting future are need to be taken. Youth, being enthusiastic, vibrant, innovative and dynamic in nature, is the most important section of the population. Youth shows strong passion, motivation and willpower, which also makes them the most valuable human resource for fostering economic, cultural and political development of a nation. Youth is lauded as a symbol of hope for future, while scorned as a threat to the existing society. On the one hand, the youth are represented as reckless, irresponsible and uncommitted. On the other hand, as dedicated, differential and conformist. Now we will discuss the theoretical background. There have been a number of important theoretical contributions to understand the development of youth. Erik Erikson in 1950s and 1968 was a primary and early contributor in this field. Erikson rarely discussed specific age in this writing and in his theory of human development across the life courses. He did not include a separate stage that could be considered analogous to emerging adulthood as proposed here. Rather, he wrote of development in adolescence and of development in young adulthood. However, he also commented on the prolonged adolescence typical of industrialized society and on the psycho-social moratorium granted to young people in such societies, during which the young adult through free role experimentation may find a niche in some section of the society. Thus, Erikson, without labeling, had identified a period that is in some ways adolescence and in some ways young adulthood, yet not strictly either one. A period in which adult commitments and responsibilities are delayed, while the role experimentation that began in adolescence continues and in fact intensifies. Daniel Levinson, 1978, was another contributor in the field. He developed a theory that included development in the late teens and 20s. He called age 17 to 33 the novice phase of development and asserted that the dominant task of this phase is to move into the adult world and build a stable life structure. According to Levinson, during this period, the young experiences a significant change and instability while saving through the various possibilities in relationship, work and establishing a life structure. Levinson acknowledged that his conception of the novice phase was similar to Erikson's ideas about the role experimentation and takes place during the psychosocial moratorium. Yet another theory of youth is propounded by Kenneth Keniston. Like Erikson and Levinson, Keniston 1971 conceptualized youth as a period of continued role experimentation between adolescence and young adulthood. However, Keniston wrote at a time when American society and some Western European societies were convulsed with highly visible youth movements, protesting the involvement of the United States in the Vietnam War, among other things. His description of youth as a time of tension between self and society and refusal of socialization reflects that historical moment rather than enduring characteristics of the period. So, this was a theoretical aspect. Now, youth in India. India shares considerable proportion of world population. By 2010, India constituted of 17.8% of the world population, reporting 2.7% growth in its share since 1970. This growth is predicted to continue, and by 2030, Indians would account for 17.97% of global population. India's share in the decennial addition to global population increased from 18.13 during 1970 to 1980 to 22.87 during 1990 to 2000 and is projected to decline to 18.69 by 2020 to 2030. According to World Population Prospects 2015 revision, India has the highest population of 10 to 24 years of age, that is 242 million. Youth 15 to 24 years in Indian constitutes 1/5, that is 19.1% of India's total population. This is according to the census 2011. This puts India at an advantage relative to other countries. India would be a younger nation as compared to other countries. However, there are concerns and barriers that withhold the youth to reach to its utmost potential. However, a negative aspect of the youth population in India is skewed sex ratio. The sex ratio is declining sharply. It has come down to 939 females per 1000 in 2011 and is predicted to decline further by 2020. But a welcome change that witnessed is that the mean age of marriage among females is gone up from 19.4 years in 1995 to 22.3 in 2014. There is a drop in the percentage share of married women in the age group of 15 to 19 years. So this was about the brief in the context of India. Now major issues concerning Indian youths. We will discuss one by one. First, it is education. Education is vital for the development and improvement of the lives of young people globally. It has been identified as an important area in internationally agreed development goals and the World Programme of Action for Youth. Education plays a pivotal role in eradicating poverty and hunger and is promoting economic growth and sustainable development. Increased efforts toward education, accessibility, quality and affordability are central to global development efforts. Worldwide, 10.6% of young people are non-literate, lacking basic numerical and reading skills, and this deficiency means the inability to sustain a living through full and decent employment. This leads to persistently high levels of unemployment and underemployment worldwide. In 2013, about 225 million youth or 20% of all youth in the developing world are idle, not in education, employment or training. Education plays a key role in the full and dedicated participation of youth in the procedure of social, financial and political advancement. A sincere effort is required for improving participation of youngsters, especially disadvantaged youth. Is expected that when the youth acquire knowledge, aptitude and moral values, they would be efficient in their role in the development, administration, social incorporation, resilience and peace in their nation. The persistent gender gap in education hinders youth development. Sub-Saharan Africa's secondary school enrollment rates have increased by 40% from 1999 to 2008. And the number of out-of-school children decreased by about 13 million between 1999 and 2009. In terms of tertiary education, much of the growth in enrollment has occurred in East Asia and the Pacific and not in Sub-Saharan Africa or South and West Asia. These regional inequalities can be demonstrated also by the estimates of literacy rates. Data from 2011 indicates that in developing countries, the percentage of non-literate youth is 12.1%, with Sub-Saharan Africa's percentage standing at 20.6% and South and West Asia standing at 18.5%. By 2015, youth non-literary rates are projected to fall to 8% for the world and to 11% in developing countries as a whole. As per UNESCO, youth non-literacy rate in Sub-Saharan Africa are projected to decline to 25%. Many education and training systems do not provide young people with the basic skills needed to escape poverty and unemployment even when they continue to receive formal education. Non-formal education programs seek to fill this gap by providing learning and skills development opportunities that are relevant to the context in which young people live and seek their livelihoods. Often provided through youth and community-based organizations, non-formal education facilitates the learning of life-relevant knowledge and skills, especially for disadvantaged and marginalized groups. Now, the second is employment under this section. Youth are the major seekers of employment as they transition from financial dependency in childhood to establishing financial independence in youth. A significant proportion of youth take over the business of their family, but the major proportion of youth becomes the first-time job seekers and searches for economic opportunities as existing in their country of residence. Unemployment, though exists in every part of the world, but the rate of unemployment varies from country to country. The global youth unemployment rate is 13.0% for the period 2012 to 2014. Overall, 2 in 5 of the youth is still either unemployed or working, yet living in poverty. As of 2014, 73.3 million youth were unemployed, which accounted for 36.7% of the global unemployed. However, the youth share in total unemployment is slowly decreasing. Adequate employment in a country is not only a boon to the economy, but also is beneficial to the social economic well-being of its population. In contrast, high unemployment rate is reported to have direct bearing on social and political unrest. Many political disturbances across the globe have been attributed to high unemployment rate. Since they are unemployed, they are very destructive in their mind also. So, high unemployment rate can also lead to other dysfunctional activities among the country, such as criminal activity, suicidal tendencies, mental disorder, migration, etc. Youth unemployment is now a top priority policy should be in most of the countries across all regions. Now, the third is civic engagement. It is also one of the very important factors. Over the past 2 decades, youth civic engagement has gained attention of researchers, policymakers and practitioners in many parts of the world. At the international level, the World Bank has identified the exercise of active citizenship as one of the most important activities for a healthy transition to adulthood to both the youth of today and the next generation. The focus on youth civic engagement works on the assumption that youth people, if involved in and connected to society, are less likely to engage in risky behavior and violence and are likely to stay engaged as they grow older. Youth engagement not only maintains order in the nation, but also contributes to the personal development of young people, their welfare. The recent upsurge in youth civic engagement can be attributed to increased public awareness of the right of children and young people to have their voices heard growing number of adults are coming to recognize the need to support and encourage youth participation in social action. There has essentially been a paradigm shift in how adult society views the role of youth people, one that challenges age-old stereotype of youth efficacy and commitment. Now the next factor is migration. Young people may choose to move within their home countries as internal migration or beyond their national borders as international migrants. The majority of migrants stay in their own countries as internal migrants. Estimates place the number of migrants at approximately 740 million. This is reported by World Youth Report in 2013. Youth intending to migrate outside their national boundaries may first undertake rural-urban migration or urban-urban migration within their country of origin in order to find paid employment or intermediary service to support their plans for international migration, because that's a base which helps them to go ahead. International migration has increased steadily over the years, becoming an established feature of the contemporary social and economic landscape for many youths. Young migrants form a relatively large proportion of the overall migrant population and have a significant impact on origin, transit and destination countries and communities. Now, according to the latest United Nations estimates, there are 32 million international migrants worldwide, representing 3.2% of the world's total population of 7.2 billion. Of these, 75 million international migrants are under the age of 30, which is more than 30% of all migrants. This is reported by World Youth Report 2013. The reason for youth migration may vary from person to person and region to region. Often, a combination of several major factors lead to the decision to migrate. Personal consideration, socio-economic circumstances and the political situation in the country of origin may be important contributing factors. Often, the main driving force behind youth migration, particularly international migration, is the magnitude of perceived inequalities in labor market opportunities, income, human rights and living standards between the countries of origins and the destination. Some young people migrate to escape conflict, persecution or environmental threats. The decision to migrate is often related to the important life transition, such as pursuing higher education, securing employment or getting married. Marriage migration has become a distinct feature of international migration in Asia, as a large and increasing number of youth. Young women from developing countries in the region are migrating to developed Asian countries for this purpose. This phenomena has led to social, cultural and demographic transformation of the communities of origin and destination. Now I will conclude with a summary that youth across the world has been identified as a bearer of fresh energy, vibrancy and numerous possibilities. Youth is also characterized by strength, rebellion, dedication and power to bring forth change in social system. Young people have been central to social change. The political history of the world has recognized numerous incidents that accounts for the contribution of the youth in bringing about revolution and change, the Renaissance. Youth forms an integral part of the country. The youth, full of energy, needs to be channelized and motivated in the right direction to ensure the progress and development of the country. The more they are channelized in a positive way, the more it will be helpful for the society and nation at large. There are concerns that the youth across the world and India faces. It is essential to understand those challenges and barriers faced by the youth, such as the government can take initiatives to improve the state of affairs. When the youth of the country is supported and empowered, the entire country can be assured of progress and betterment. Since youth is an essential and powerful part of the nation, it is of utmost importance to the government. Many policies have to be introduced by the government to work for the welfare of the youth. The National Youth Policy, launched in February 2014, proposed a holistic vision for the youth of India, which is to empower youth of the country to achieve their full potential and through them enable India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. Thank you.